to the How to Create a Thesis Statement workshop. My name is Michaela, and I'm one of the instructional assistants here at the FSW Writing Center. First, let's talk about what a thesis statement is. So a thesis statement tells the reader what the paper will be about, and it's composed of three things: the topic or the subject of the paper, the claim or the argument about the topic, and the details that you use to support your claim. Typically, your thesis statement will be the last sentence of your introduction. So the topic or the subject is the main idea of your paper. So this is the idea around which you're going to argue, prove, disprove, or explain the claim that you'll make. Your subject should be interesting, specific, debatable, and maybe about a topical problem or issue, which might include something like gun control, immigration, or transgender rights. The claim or argument is the point you're trying to make about the topic. So this is where you will argue, explain, or prove your topic. Typically, the claim shouldn't be something that's purely subjective or an opinion. Something like pizza is the best food doesn't make for a particularly strong claim. A purely subjective claim usually can't be debated and will result in a weaker claim. Instead, you want a claim that's assertive and logical, but still leaves room for disagreement. So you want to try to avoid starting your thesis with something like "this paper will." You want your claim to be specific so that the topic can be closely analyzed. An example claim could look something like, transgender individuals deserve the same privileges as non-trans people. So here we have our subject, transgender individuals, and then the claim, deserve the same privileges as non-trans people. Details are what you'll use to support your claim. So they can be specific, which is called a pronged thesis, and that looks like the following. Bill Nye's television show inspired a generation of scientists due to his informative content, humor, and passion for science. You can also use a category to cover multiple details, which is called an umbrella thesis. Bill Nye's television show inspired a generation of scientists due to the innovative methods it chose to highlight the importance of science. So while the prong and umbrella thesis statements take different approaches, they both use specific language to let the reader know what's coming in the body of the paper. A strong thesis statement will be debatable, illustrate a specific and concise point, be assertive, clear, and is the foundation of any good paper. Every paragraph in your paper should help in some way to argue, prove, or explain your thesis. An example of a strong thesis statement is Mad Max Fury Road is one of the most influential films of the 2010s due to its feminist themes, emphasis on practical effects, and commitment to the creation of a new yet familiar world. So you can see here we have our subject, Mad Max Fury Road. We have our claim, is one of the most influential films of the 2010s. And here we have the prong thesis with due to its feminist themes, emphasis on practical effects, and commitment to the creation of a new yet familiar world. On the other hand, a weak thesis statement does not allow the reader to determine what your paper will be about. A weak thesis statement can be an opinion or subjective, or it can be vague. An example of a weak thesis statement is Mad Max Fury Road is a really cool movie that everyone should watch. This thesis ticks off all of those boxes. We don't know what the paper will be about based on it. It's an opinion, and it's vague. We need more specific details about what makes Mad Max a strong movie, and we also need a stronger claim. Next, we're going to go through some common weak thesis statements and try to figure out how we can improve them. So keep in mind that a thesis statement should be specific and assertive. Let's take a look at our first example. This paper will discuss the merits of horses. So what's missing here? Well, it's not assertive. It has that phrase, "this paper will" at the beginning that we want to try to avoid. It's missing the claim, and it's missing details. So all we know so far about this paper is that it's going to discuss the merits of horses, but we don't know what those merits are, we don't have a claim about the horses, and we're missing details. So how would we fix that? Well, a revision might look like the following. Horses are the most practical farm animal due to their strength, speed, and ability to train. So we have our subject, horses, our claim are the most practical farm animal, and our details, due to their strength, speed, and ability to train. This is a much more specific thesis statement, and it lets the reader know exactly what this paper will be about. Now let's look at another example. The Ford advertisement suggests a good vibe. So there's a couple things wrong with this thesis statement. We have a claim, but it's not quite specific enough yet. So right now our claim is suggests a good vibe. So we know that there's something positive about this advertisement, but we don't know what that is yet. And we're also missing the details that support our claim. So how would we fix this? Well, something like the following. The Ford advertisement suggests an atmosphere of superiority and pride as a result of the use of bold colors, the provocative slogan, and performance statistics. So here we still have our same subject, the Ford advertisement, and now we have a stronger claim. Suggests an atmosphere of superiority and pride. It's more specific and it's stronger overall. And now we have details to support our claim as a result of the use of bold colors, the provocative slogan, and performance statistics. Let's take a look at one final example. Beyoncé's music is very positive because of her musical skills. And now let's take a look at what we can fix here. The claim cannot be debated because it is not specific. Right now our claim is just it's very positive. We need specifics in there to help make this stronger. It's missing strong details to support the claim. Right now our details are just because of her musical skills, but we want to be more specific here. What about her musical skills makes her music so positive? So how would we fix this? Well, Beyoncé's music is motivated by a desire for equality and self-confidence as evidenced by her powerful lyrics and music video imagery. Now we have our subject, Beyoncé's music. Our claim is motivated by a desire for equality and self-confidence, which could now be debated because it's more specific, and our stronger details as evidenced by her powerful lyrics and music video imagery. Next, we're going to look at two thesis statements side by side and determine which is the stronger of the two. So the first says, the purge is an important American practice due to its efforts to placate the violent citizenry of this country. The second thesis reads, the purge is an important American practice because people can do bad things. So thinking about both of those, which one is stronger? Well, while both thesis statements do have a strong specific claim, which is an important American practice here, only the first thesis has strong details that support the claim, due to its efforts to placate the violent citizenry of this country. Let's look at two more thesis statements and determine which of them is not specific. So the first says, I prefer books focusing on nature because of their imagery, their language, and plots. The second says, I prefer novels from the late Romantic period because of their natural imagery, evocative language, and unique plots. So after reading both of those, which is less specific? Well, the first thesis is less specific here because we're not sure what kind of books are nature books. The details being used in the first thesis, which are imagery, language, and plots, are also not as specific as the details in the second option. In the second option, we have those qualifiers of natural imagery, evocative language, and unique plots. If you're asked to write a thesis statement for a brief essay about where you want to go on vacation, which thesis statement would be the best option? A, I would love to go to England, France, and Spain because they're all beautiful. B, I would love to go to England. C, I would love to go to England, France, and Spain because of each country's history, culture, and cuisine. Or D, I would love to go to England because of its history, medieval architecture, and theater scene. In this case, D would be the correct answer because it's short, but has a specific claim, and it's accompanied by thorough and concise details. So this is the best answer for a brief essay. Which thesis statement could not be explained, argued, or proved? A, medical advances in the last 50 years have prolonged life considerably due to new medications and practices. B, as a result of their overpopulation and predation over weaker prey, lionfish have become an epidemic in the Gulf of Mexico. Or C, hip-hop has become the greatest musical genre because of its artists and new forms of instrumentation. In this case, C cannot be explained, argued, or proved because greatest is subjective. It's an opinion, and you can't argue with an opinion. So I'm going to read another thesis statement, and I want you to think if it's strong or weak. As Hitler's Third Reich rose to power during the 1930s, the Holocaust began with the Nazis' introduction of the Nuremberg Laws, progressed into segregation of Jews into ghettos and prison camps, and eventually culminated with the attempt to systematically exterminate the Jewish race in death camps where millions of them were gassed and shot. That would be a weak thesis statement. It's way too broad. The claim is too vast and sounds more like the introduction to a history book than a research paper. Remember to not make things too hard for yourself. Any one of the details in that thesis could have been their own research paper. So just because a thesis is longer doesn't mean it's stronger. In fact, you want to try to be brief and specific. Let's review. The thesis statement tells the reader what the paper is about. It should be used as a roadmap to make sure you're staying on topic. Your thesis should be composed of three things: your topic, the claim about your topic, and the details you use to support your claim. Your topic should be arguable, explainable, or debatable. Your claim should be specific and assertive, and your details should support the claim being made. So remember, you can use either the prongs or the umbrella approach with your details. If you need help with your thesis statement or anything else with your paper, contact the Writing Center. We're currently closed to walk-in appointments on campus, but we have some other methods of how we can help you online. You can drop off your essay in our email at wconline@fsw.edu with your name, student ID, and course. Make sure to include the assignment as a .doc or .docx. Include the instructions you were given for the assignment and your concerns with the assignment, and a tutor will go over the assignment and send it back to you. Make sure to email your assignment at least 24 hours in advance. We also have Zoom appointments if you want to go over an assignment with the tutor live. So you can click on that blue here to make an FSW tutor request. Thanks for watching this workshop, and we hope to see you soon.